But right now, let's focus the questions around the studio, snapshot builds, early development, how you guys are going to be involved. Any questions here on that, by all means.
And if my dear guys, let's give a huge clap to them, you know? We started this back when I started working on this, with concepts, with development, unnecessary. Huge props to these guys.
Alright, gentlemen, anyone who may not know you, and shame on you if you don't, please introduce yourselves.
We're Team Summertime. We're a content trio for
Summertime. Alright, right away, I need to know, you see the logo drop, you see it come down on the screen. What did you guys think of Deadrop?
Man, it's actually been amazing. I didn't know what to expect. You know, they kept everything very close-knit, and so we had no idea what to expect.
Yeah, I personally love the name, and it fits well with the gameplay that I've played so far, so I enjoyed it.
Leading to the Champions Club to make a damn good little game. What a vertical shooter is. I see a big skyscraper, but I don't know what that means, so I'm excited to find out.
Alright, well, my first impression was ominous, right? I mean, it looks very imposing, and I'm sure the devs will be discussing just that for the vertical shooter. But when they're sitting here, they're talking about this AAA game and how involved all the founders are going to be in it. Have you seen anything like that before? What does it mean to you guys when you see the players, the fans getting engaged in this one?
I mean, look at all the people here. I don't think people have ever seen a game this early before. Look at you guys. We put in today, you know, want to show some support to the Champions Club, and of course to all the unedited. And you know, it's been awesome time. We've been camping out for the last hour and a half playing, just shooting bots and
All right, well, shooting bots, what do you think so far?
I think it's amazing and it's fluid. I like the movement so far. I'm a bit of a controller player myself, so I'm a bit new to keyboard mouse, but it feels good. I like trying to break the game as quick as possible. We were 360 off the building, shooting the last lot, having a good time. But the movement feels fluid. I like how the gameplay feels. It sounds good, which is good. It looks good, and I'm excited to get back on it.
Ooh, PvP. Well, we might have a little bit of at least a 1v1 showdown later. But sir, you might want to get some water before that.
I don't know. Maybe a couple more of these. You know, might have a better opportunity.
Alright, so I'm going to ask before we let you guys go, what do you want to hear from the dev team most? What are you really, really curious about that you hope that they might cover tonight?
I still go back to the vertical. I just want to know what we playing. Am I going to be, taking stuff out? Am I going to be collecting M16s and taking them home and building toilets? Am I going to be, fighting other people in the game? I want to know what it is. I know this one.
It does look good. Does it look good? Alright, so thank you so much for being here and for enjoying Deadrop.
Okay, so there's a lot in there. I think one of the questions was, hey, what is this? What is a vertical shooter? What does that mean? And am I going to be, are we going to be taking stuff home and building toilets? I don't know. That's pretty interesting. It's up to you guys to help influence that. How much do you want to take materials back and build toilets, right? These are the things we want to hear. But for us, a vertical shooter, especially in this, a vertical extraction shooter, you saw the tower, right? If you played the build and then you saw the name reveal, you see that daunting tower in the distance. And we're not going to be revealing too much about that, but what you can expect from a vertical shooter is, from a level design perspective, there's a lot of what we call over, under, and around kind of flow, like movement, right? So you can think there's going to be people above you, there's going to be people circling around, underneath, halfways, all that kind of stuff. And we're taking it very seriously from that viewpoint. And players are going to be traveling up, down, just like you look at the name of the game. Deadrop, it's got the arrows that are going up and down. Players are going to be traversing and battling both upward and downward. And that to us is something that's really exciting about this game, is that there's not a lot of that in the game industry right now, especially from a level design viewpoint. So for us, a vertical extraction shooter is taking something when we look at a lot of games that are horizontally built, and we're taking that play space and making it vertical. Now, there's still going to be a lot of horizontal aspect to it. It's going to be big. It's not going to be, you're not going to be in an elevator shaft. That building is huge, okay? And so there's going to be a lot of space for you to roam. There's going to be a lot of people hunting you. You're going to be the hunter, right? You're going to be stalking other players, getting loot, and maybe at the end of the day, we'll put some photos in there for you to build as well.
All right, do we have some more questions? All right. Wave down, Katie and Nichols. Not that one.
All right, welcome. Please, if people do not know you, give us your name.
Hey everybody, how's it going out there, crowd? Can I hear some noise, huh? I got one question, and it's for Doc. And I gotta know, how is the in-game audio going to be for this game?
Let's just say we've already fired 6 guys. How did the audio sound?
Deep answer. I liked it. Anything else?
Yeah, you know, it's been great to see a crowd out here. Great to see everyone showing support. You know, people are looking a lot like Doc out there, but not quite like him. There's also been, to be fair, there's also been quite a bit of flack and heat out there. I'm curious how the team up here on stage. Obviously, a lot of expectations have been set for you guys for good reason. You know, it's good for you guys, good for the team out there as well. So, how are you guys responding to those expectations that were set for you?
Yeah. Our approach is straight simple, right? We don't give a shit what anybody says. We don't give a shit what anybody says. We are going to answer every critique with builds. Playable builds every 6 weeks. Somebody has something to say, we're listening, right? And we're building. We're answering through action. We're not answering through talking or responding or trying to appease everybody. The only people we're trying to appease, this group right here. The people in this group, the people in the Discord, the Baron only Discord at home, those are the opinions that matter. Because we know collectively, we're going to answer the need. Right? It's not about us. We're here to execute on this. And that's what we're going to do based on everything anybody says. Anybody can have an opinion, right? But until you play it, that's when it matters.
Thank you, and we do have a whole lot of opinions, and hopefully tonight most of them positive. Anything else?
One last one for you guys. You know, it seems the competition is primed and ready. It seems like a lot of people in the gaming space want to make their own games too. You got OTK, you got 100 Thieves, and you got Doc and his team too. So how do you guys compare yourselves to all the competition ongoing right now?
What are you talking about?
I mean, I would say one thing is, you know, honestly, we are not trying to compare ourselves to anyone, right? We are who we are, and I look at this group, and this is just a subgroup of the developers of Midnight Society, and this is a damn good group, all right? And we're not thinking about anyone else in the gaming industry. We're thinking about us and you guys, right? And that's what we're thinking about. We compare ourselves to what you think about what is on the screen. Because us, we have a saying, on screen is king, right? Like, you can do paper designs, you can do all sorts of stuff, but until it's on screen and playable, which is what we have here right now, it doesn't matter. Okay? So for us, we're not comparing ourselves to anyone else.
I just want to say one thing real quick, right? We got in this to change the industry. We expected it to take a while. the fact that people are already starting to do what we started 6 months ago, I love to see it. I want more people to copy us. I want more people to open up their games early. I want more people to include their community. We're not trying to corner the market on that. We're trying to change the industry so everybody does it. So I love that those other people are following in our footsteps. Let them do it. They're going to make a different game than us, and that game's going to be better because they did what we're doing now and opening it up.
I think we got another question for the incredible Dead team.
Alright guys, we've heard a lot of people, there's comparisons everywhere. You say you're doing it better than anyone else, but we hear, oh, this is kind of like Tarkov. This is kind of like CSGO, this is kind of like Call of Duty. But what is making this game the next level? What is making this, like you said, that no one can compare, that people are going to try to copy?
Okay, well, for us again, the proof is in the pudding of what we're going to be putting on screen. But the way we're looking at this is we're trying to take the best of all of our knowledge. This team is made up of a lot of veterans from all sorts of games and big time games in the industry. And there's things that we like about those games and there's things that we love about those games. So we're taking what we feel is the best of those and how do we make something new? And that's tough to do in the industry, right? There's so many things that have been retread before. And for us, it's also not just about the idea, it's about the execution of those ideas. And some other studios, they could do something, but if the execution isn't there, then it's not going to have people playing it. And so for us, the big game changer is the execution. We need to execute on those ideas, even if there's similar ideas in the industry. It's the execution, and then again, another big game changer, we keep coming back to it. We sound like a broken record, but seriously, the other game changer is everyone in this room, right? If everyone does their job and speaks up and lets us know when something is lame or when something is genuinely good, that to us is how we're going to get something that everyone else doesn't have, and maybe they'll want to copy us and be like us too.
Doge, my co-caster, and someone from a talent perspective who looks at a game like this and says, there's some very interesting prospects here. So, Doge, when you look at team, what do you have to find out?
Yeah, no, it's a incredible product already, and really excited about the roadmap forward. My question comes from the competitive standpoint, right? There's a lot that can be said about public lobbies and how a game can execute for the casual player base, but we all know the competitive player base, specifically esports level player base, can really change the way a game is looked at. So give us a little bit of insight, if you can, about the competitive level that of course is being played.
Yeah, I would love to, right? So, and I've talked about this with a few of you guys out there already, right? How we look at it, we've said time and time again, that you don't build an esports game, esports chooses you, right? So we are focused right now on that core gunplay, making it feel good, and if we do that correctly, if we make that feel smooth and tight and feel competitive, like you feel like you can compete at it, the teams are going to respond. And this is a great question because it speaks to how we built this group right here. Everybody in this room filled out that ridiculous application process, right? It wasn't for nothing. The reason we asked those questions after that data was so that we understood who was casual, who was hardcore, who was an esports athlete, who's a developer, who's a content creator. Because we wanted this first group, everybody here and everybody at home in the Very Only channel, to be a diverse group of opinions so that we could start at a base level and be like, let's make gunplay good. Now let's hear from our esports athletes in the crowd about, what could be competitive, what feels too RNG, what should be removed from the competitive playlist, right? And iterate like that. Because at the end of the day, if the esports scenes, we're here at FaZe Clan right now, we're good friends with Optic, we have a lot of friends, a lot of founders who are in the esports scene. If you guys are asking for this to go competitive, and this group decides to support those ambitions, that's what we do. That's how this works. right? If there's a need for it, there's a voice for it, then we do it. And so we are going to listen, and we're going to build towards what this group wants to do, and just diversify that way.
Yeah, let's go.
Did I bring it up?
So that leads it for this portion of it, where we're talking about the studio and the setup. Please, if you haven't already, get some time in. If you've already got some time in, grab a drink, relax, pick up your swag. After, we want as many people to have time with the actual build as possible, because when we get back, we're going to dive into the actual deep dive of the gameplay questions. Talk about gunplay, talk about features, talk about where we're going, what our thinking was in those. So spend some time on it, talk to us if you see us, and then we'll be right back here in a little.
Shot one. You're riding in an elevator, there's some mystery, what's going on here, the elevator doors open, and boom, you're greeted to this. This is what we're calling our weapons bench room, alright? And so in here is the weapons bench, and this is something that, this can become lots of things. This is what we love to get feedback from you guys. But for us, the genesis of this is where you as a player can come and customize your weapon. Or weapons, not just a single weapon, but your weapons. How many weapons do you have? All those kind of things. What kind of weapons? These are the things we also want to hear from you as well. But you as a player, you come in here and you tinker with things. You change different attachments, all sorts of stuff, right? Things that you'd expect. We're thinking of things like, hey, how do you display maybe your favorite weapon? All that kind of stuff. And so that's what this room was trying to evoke. It was like very simple. We wanted to at least lay the foundation for the weapons bench. And in this room as well, we've also got things like, there's a closed door over to the right. Well, what's that all about? There's a keypad, you interact with it. It beeps at you, says access denied. There's things in there that we're trying to build towards. And that's what's exciting to us with this hideout and with this game in general, as we build it with all of you in mind, is things are going to evolve over time. There's going to be new areas to explore. Each snapshot will get into these things. So, when it comes to this room and this weapon, one of the main features is this classified rifle. We don't really have a name for it yet, that'll come. So if anyone's got cool ideas, let us know. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this. I want to kick it over to our art director, Darren Bacon, and he can tell us a little bit about this weapon, its identity, its looks, and all that.
Yeah, okay, so it's kind of a nice snapshot on just art direction in general and all up on the project. And so what we've been thinking about is it's like the high level idea is the future through the lens of the 80s and 90s and in like an alternate timeline. And so what that allows us to do is like kind of pick the stuff that fits best with our genre and in our society. And so also generally it's like the whole vibe, basically lives around that, and it's a world where Doc could be living in, but he'd be in the streets, and it's not like his big adventure. So that's generally the high level art style goals.
Yeah, totally. So that is another thing that's really exciting about this when we think about the art style and the visuals that you're seeing here is, like Darren said, it's as if the 1980s or the 90s never really ended. Not the campus stuff, but like the stuff that we all, grew up liking. Like you think of like the Terminator movies or Aliens and Escape from New York. Those are some of our inspirations of this kind of universe we're building here. And so that's why we love the X1 and that classified rifle, just how it looks. So with that, what about the environment in here? And I'd like to Greg over here, Greg Cox is our lead environment artist. Greg, tell us about just the environment and what we're trying to see here and accomplish.
Well, there's a couple of challenges with this because we're using Unreal 5, so we want to make sure that we're using the features of Unreal 5 to make our lives easier while still delivering a very good product. And to your point, Quinn, this is, when we first started looking at this space, we put together a lot of reference boards. So we started looking at a lot of the classic movies that we kind of like, old school John Carpenter kind of movies, Big Trouble in Little China, a little bit of Bloodsport in there, so we mixed some things in of, not for the sake of nostalgia, like we don't necessarily want to convey nostalgia, but the limitations that those films had at the time made those films great, and they looked good, right? So we want to capture that a little bit. So we knew that for this first shot, it had to be important. Like it needed to grab your attention immediately. The player needs to see that rifle. The player needs to be drawn into that workbench. And so we began populating it out with some of the assets that we built from scratch. And then we also pulled in things from Megascans to kind of make life a little bit easier for us. And so we did a lot of set dressing, and we went through multiple iterations of lighting to kind of capture that mood for it a little bit and everything. And I think it did the job. I think it did a really good job of it. So yeah, we're all really, really proud of it, and I think that rifle just looks so damn good up there.
Nice. Okay. Let's move on to the next area. We'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, so this is a little bit of that tease that we were telling you about. So this is a concept image of what that door to the right of the weapon bench could be. And so now we're looking at this like, okay, right now we're just calling it like the vault, right? Like, or the armor. What does the player want to put in there? What are the things that are interesting? Kind of gear, what kind of gear do you want to put in there? What kind of weaponry you want to put in there? Things that you really like that you want to keep safe. Things that you want to use for the right moment, the right area in which you're going to go play in. So this is just an early concept tease of something that could or could not be done. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Whoa, okay. So, speaking of teases, speaking of feedback of Jesus, so this is another one in the variant guide. You'll see this as well. This is an image of another concept that is amazing about our garage, right? So we're calling it garage, and we'll have more to talk about this at another time. But as you look through the variant guide and take a look at this image, just soak it in. What are the ideas? What are the things that you like? What are the things that you think about this? Let us know, and we'll have some conversations about it. That's all I really want to say about that.
Let me pose a little question. I don't want an answer now. I'm not saying it is or is not related to the garage, right? I just want to know, think about it. Get back to us. Hit us up on Discord or Twitter. We know we're in the player hideout. We know we're going to a tower. How do we get to that tower? What does that process look like? That's what I'd like you guys to think about. Mull over, right? How do we get there? How are we choosing where in that tower we're starting? Oh, that's some interesting questions, huh? So I would just simmer on that. Look at your variant guide, soak in that artwork, and think, what's the best fucking raddest way we can get from the player hideout to the tower? Just let that soak for a little bit. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
I love when Rob comes in and he just wants to hold his beer and he just like gets in after it.
I'm just asking questions now.
Excellent. Okay, so this right here, this is what we're calling our interior range, right? The gun range is inside the hideout. And we have all sorts of little mini games or firing range experiences. There's 3 to be exact. And this is where we want the player to be tested on different kinds of gunplay with this classified rifle that we have in the experience. So, again, I love the visuals of this. This is all through Unreal Engine 5. We're super excited for it. You can look through this. You can see Darren's vision. You can see what Greg has done, and what Eric has done, and what Steve has done with his concept work. I mean, there's just so much effort poured in through the team on this that we just love to finally get it in your hands to check it out. But what I really want to talk about right now is the final range experience. And I think the best person to talk about that is our director of gameplay engineering, which is Jim here in the end. So Jim, tell us all about these firing ranges and how it works.
That's good. So I was watching people play over here, and I think this first firing range, pretty much everybody understood it right away. So let me kind of contrast this one and the second one. This first one is one target active at a time, and so we don't even put that on the, it's not even on the HUD. It's just one target pops up, you shoot it, the next target pops up, and the target's not moving much. They move a little bit to get out from behind one of those kind of barriers. So it's very simple. There's 10 targets and they pop up and they're really relatively close range. You can see the end of the range very easily. Honestly, watching people play over here, I feel like maybe our learning curve was a little too steep on the second target range. A lot of people started the second range, and it's way upstairs. That's not a great picture for it. But they started the second target range, and it pops up and says, "Oh, there's 2 targets active," and people are like, "Where are they?" And then they go down the elevator, and they're kind of looking around for where are the targets. The truth is, the targets are like a lot farther away, and you really have to. There's a lot of fog and stuff, so to be honest, Quinn and Rob kept telling me and some of the other guys, this is not meant to be an easy game. It's like we're gonna lean into shadows on this game, and so it should be hard to see your enemies and these targets. So it's totally fine. So people would play that again, I would say, if you only had one chance to play it here. That's the second one. You want me to tell about the third one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that the really thing that's important to hear from you, Jim, is what is the 3 ranges and what is the skills we're trying to test for the players? Because that was something that you really did a good job of executing with the team on, the interior range, what's the goal there, the goal for the first exterior, and then the goal for the bottom range, and the surprises down there.
Yeah, the first one is really, the targets are very visible. There's only one choice at a time. So it's really about quick acquisition, target to target to target, and it's really just about very quickly moving from one target to the next. Whereas the second target range, they're farther off, so it's more about scanning the environment and seeing where the targets are, and they're a lot farther off, so it's much more challenging to actually get headshots. So that second firing range is much more difficult. I was saying, might be wise for us to have another one in between the two to kind of scale up to that. But anyway, you guys like hard games, I'm sure. Yeah. So the third one we call our reaction trial, and the clock works differently there. You start the trial. This is down at the bottom. You have to take the elevator down, and there's a button to start the trial. And then you move through. We actually, Kraz actually added a lot of arrows to kind of guide you through the environment. There's yellow kind of spray painted arrows to guide you through, and it's all about quick reactions. Those targets are relatively close, but you're kind of moving forward, and you don't know exactly when they're going to pop up because you can't really see the trigger that's going to pop them up. Probably if you play it 10, 20 times, you'll know exactly where to trigger. But the idea is to test your quick reflexes and your reaction time. So you go through some 2 to 4 things pop up and you shoot them. So that's the third one.
Yeah. So this is something else that we really wanted with these targets to be there is like, hey, we have a weapon in the game. It's not going to be fun if we just have a space where you're just shooting the wall or the floor or messing around. What do we have in there so you can actually look at what's the bullet drop, right? What's the projectile speed? Because every weapon in our game, we're going to have projectiles and speeds that are varying at different distances, so we want to see how does that feel? And that's why some of the targets move, some of them don't. And then we got really good fun stuff in there with the chaos system that Unreal provides, where you've got destruction on the targets, so it's fun to just, we were earlier on in development, we had some, as soon as you hit a target, the target just like immediately goes down. We're like, that's not very fun. Like, what do we do about that? It's like, well, why don't we have the target stay up for just a second so you can see, oh man, I blew a hole in the leg of that target. Oh, that person just got lobotomized. Their head's gone, right? Because we got destruction in there. And that made a bigger difference in just the overall fun. Even though you're not shooting other players, that'll come. But you're not shooting any other players right now, you're just shooting targets, and you're kind of learning the gunplay of what we're trying to go with Deadrop. And that's just a single weapon, and there'll be more to come as well. So that's the main reason why we got all these targets, these firing ranges, all that, so we can get feedback from you on the spread of the weapon, the recoil, the bullet, the projectile speeds, everything. So yeah, so that is out here in the exterior range. For me, the second one is a lot of fun because of the ranges and the heights. Because again, that is a vertical traction shooter. You're not just going to be shooting anyone that's in the same plane as you. You're going to be looking up, looking down. The height advantage is going to be a real deal in our game. So those are some of the exciting things about the exterior range as well. So, yeah.
I want to jump in a little bit on the
please.
One just quick comment is early on we had some discussions about whether we should use the Unreal 4 physics technology, which is called PhysX, or the Unreal 5 physics technology, which is called chaos physics. And we decided, we're leaning into UE5. So I think we set it up for all the targets, and I think that's pretty much all we did for starters. Is the wooden targets and the cyborg targets are all using chaos physics. But I think it looks great. It looks much better than the older destruction, and we can lean into that even more and bring some really amazing physics simulations. So I think we made a great choice.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I'd like to dive deep on a little bit, right? We've decided that we're fully embracing Unreal Engine 5 and all the bells and whistles that come with it, right? One of those things that Jim touches on is dynamic destructibility through chaos. Right now we're using it for the targets, right? If you ran through the range, you see those things get fucked up, right? They're coming apart. What we need to think about, again, something for us to discuss, is how much do we want to lean in on that in the environment? Do we want walls being fully destructible? Do we want cover points being destructible? Maybe not walls, maybe cover points, right? To what degree do we want that, right? Do we want there to always be low cover, but we destroy medium to high cover, right? This is the mindset that we all need to be getting into, because these are the discussions and the hard decisions that we need to make. Because I'll tell you right now, and a lot of you already know, I see you shaking your head. The moment, if we decide to go full destructibility on cover points, that changes the game in a big way. That changes how you choose to engage. That chooses how you choose to break contact. So it has big ripple effects, right? So we made a decision as a development team to embrace the chaos engine and destructibility. Our job as variants is to figure out to what degree. Where do we draw the line, right? That's what we need to be thinking about and talking about on Discord after this event, right? Because once we move into PvP, when we're fighting each other, whether in the sectors or in other areas, that's going to play big, right? So one of the big things that I know is going to be a discussion point in the next 6 weeks is like, all right, if we're starting to think about PvP, what does that map look like? What does that map look like when you spawn? What does that map look like 10 minutes into the session, right? So like, I feel like I'm giving people homework, but just think about it. Because we are all about setting the course, right? Setting the course on the tech we're going to use to achieve it and implementing it. The scope, the scale, the direction, all of that stuff is going to come from a collective. But I love chaos so far. It adds so much to the ring.
Thanks, Rob, for adding that. That's a big deal. Like, we can't undersell much how much what Unreal Engine 5 does for us. So, okay. Moving on. We got some questions? Okay, let's do it.
Alright, well, first things first, I do have a Twitter question for you guys. Everyone's been loving the name. They think it's fantastic, but we've seen it more than a few times. Who came up with the name Deadrop?
Well, that was a very collaborative effort. Is the very, it's probably the safe way to say it, but I'll say, Rob. It was Rob Paul. Rob wanted to do it. He loved that name. And, but to be honest, the people that get in the room was myself, Rob, Brian Mills, and, Doc. Doc was there. He's always providing us feedback. And we had lots of cool options, but we just kept coming back to Deadrop. And every time we came back to Deadrop, Rob would just be gloating on his camera the whole time.
I lose my fucking mind every time I came up. I'll tell you one thing, I definitely am the one who decided to spell it wrong. That was 100% me.
Well, we're spelling it our way now because that's the right way to spell it. So, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, let us know who you are. I know you said you're involved in the Discord. Obviously, you're here in the whole outfit. What do you got for the Deadrop?
Yeah, my name is Alex Izzyville on Discord, aka the 5'8" variant, because I'm not 6'8". Question about the variants, because I see that each variant almost has like a different perk. How is that going to play into the game? Like, let's say we're on a specific level. I don't know if this is going to be the case. Let's say I'm really good with long range combat. Will that play into how our team is going to get to the next stage? If it's stage-based where we start from here, we conquer this area, boom, we go on to the next level. Like, how are the variants going to play with proceeding in the levels as it goes through?
Yeah, so I've got thoughts about that for sure. But does anyone else have any thoughts or ideas about that? No? Okay, just making sure everyone has an opportunity. Oh, I know Rob will say something. He'll always say something. So,
sitting back here, leave me alone.
So the variants, all of you are super important to us, and that is something that we'd like to have an open dialogue on. Like, how does that work? Because each one of you have your own variant, you have your own attributes and categories. To your point, how do we have that manifest itself in the game? And that's something that we're interested in. But right now we're focused on the core foundation of the game, what it's like for people, the majority of the people that are going to play this game, because the majority of people are not in this exclusive, amazing club of variants. So what we're trying to do is make sure that the variants are able to stand out, or peacock, right? You have that badge on, that day zero community that you're here. So when you're in a server, people are like, whoa, check that out. There's a variant right there. So, but as far as the gameplay goes, that's something that we're going to have to work out together as a crew and see what we want to accomplish.
I think I have a couple thoughts about that too, if you don't mind. Okay, so from on the couch. I think the thing with the variants and like the specific stats that are on there and stuff, that's something we had to create before we had the opportunity to know who you guys were. So if you think about it, like the variants were created before people controlled them, right? So the challenge there is that we didn't really want to commit exactly in a gameplay sense to what's on there, because we had to kind of design those and make those decisions before you guys had a chance to even participate, if that makes sense. So I think everything that is in there is a great starting point for like inspiration or things that we might want to add, or like what Quinn's talking about. But nothing that we wanted to decide before people had an opportunity to participate in things.
We're whispering, but we'll be with you in a moment.
Yeah, so vertical extraction shooter, like what exactly is that going to do? Because for me, this is new. I haven't played any games where it's vertically based, so like
sorry, that's no good.
What's that going to look like? What can we expect?
Okay. All again, just making sure we're all good. And we have a voice up here. Okay. So, what's that going to look like? Well, you see it on the screen right now. That is the exterior, right? And the main reason we wanted this tower there is we wanted that inspiration. That is the goal. That's what we want to get to. That right there is the place that largely people are going to be playing in Deadrop. That's where you're going to be going on your runs. Okay, that's where you're going to be dropping. That's where you're going to be trying to escape with your life and your things. So what does that look like? We're not going to, we don't want to release or talk about everything that's going on there, because right now we're so focused on Snapshot 1 and what that is. But just to give you a little bit of taste, that's a lot of building. And there's a lot of things in there. So internally, we've already had really fun, interesting conversations about what each area of that building, what that tower is going to look like. From visual thematics, right, to even gameplay, like, you know, we're even calling them like sectors, right? So not just floors, but like a sector. And this building is going to have multiple sectors inside. And each sector is huge. And each sector is going to have different themes in it. You know, like, hey, is this one like a hospital? Okay, cool. There's this like a whole medical area. Is this a storage area? Where is the sector that is exterior based? So we get a little bit of that cool weather that you see in Snapshot 1 with the rain. So that's just a little bit of the tease. We'll get more into that. And we have big high hopes and goals for what the tower gameplay is like. But rest assured, it's going to be crazy and awesome.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Make this beer
Here's my problem. How many people here completed the ARG? Yeah, we did. A decent amount, right? And like the ARG, we call it the CC protocol, which is a flawless combat protocol, right? There's a training ground, a simulator to figure out how our variants would think, how they sort of approach this concept of sector-to-sector gameplay, choosing between engaging and extracting, right? That ARG laid a lot of philosophical foundation for how we think about the tower, how it's constructed. Because I think philosophically, and by all means chime in, correct me if I'm wrong and want to elaborate, I know what we love based on our collective experiences on different franchises, is we love like arena map design, right? What we love about that is we love being able to learn a map, master an area, learn sight lines and cover points, and the best place to post up, right? But we really enjoy the larger scale of Battle Royale. But there's some downside to that, right? And I think what we were looking at with this vertical design was how can we get the sort of map design we love, but with the player counts and scales that we love, without the benefits of the other side, right? Then sprinkle in a little of that persistent session-to-session gameplay, different extraction shooters, and you got something there, right? And I think that is what has led the foundation for where we're going. But the thing is, we're not just going to drop that on you, right? We're going to build towards that. And at any point, when we play it, that could change based on the sentiment, right? We could be moving in that direction, full speed ahead, and we're just not feeling it as a group, right? As a collective. And then we augment, we change, we iterate. But the starting point is really looking at how do we capture that arena map design style, scope and scale, verticality, and every sort of element to it, and build towards that in a really interesting way. But let's do it one building block at a time.
Okay. So I think that about does it for us in this session right here. I want to say, thank you everyone here. Also, up here in the stage, we have lots of talented game developers working on this game, and we also have Rob. So by all means, come and reach out, talk to all of us. I like to razz Rob as much, I love him. But, so for that, this time we'll kick it over to Katie.
Thank you, and everyone, thank you for an incredible turnout. We're winding toward the end of the evening, but as we release you, go mingle, grab a drink, make sure if you have it, there's a photo booth over here in the corner, get your pictures, get everything you need, and make sure if you haven't already, Get your variant guide. I already got to make your mind. It is incredible. You won't want to miss all the information it has in store. So go relax, talk to the dev team. You see them mingling, ignore Bob, do whatever you feel is best. Let's get it up.